Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Ramon Ray with us today. He's a publisher at zoneofgenius.com. He's a motivational keynote speaker, an event host, and you can check him out at ramonray.com. It's a bunch of things, an author, a serial entrepreneur, small business expert. He interviewed the five sharks out of Shark Tanks. Very cool guys. I'm just eager to get into it. Ramon, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to.
Thanks for having me. Bonjour and hola. Neither
Bonjour.
language can I
Hi.
speak fluently, but thank you so
Yeah,
much for having me. Appreciate
pleasure.
being here and excited to share insights with your amazing audience. So thank you, Charles, for having me. Really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Nice. Tell me a bit more about yourself, what you've been up to as of late.
Sure. Today I do two things primarily. One, I'm a motivational keynote speaker, speak on the best stages in the world from London to Aruba to New Jersey, and help to motivate and excite their audiences and make sure that the audiences are never boring. So whether it's a motivational keynote speaking and or event hosting, which are two different things, but I do that working on the best stages with the best brands in the world. And then number two, I build publications. So as you see here, I've started zoneofgenius.com, which is a publication really helping entrepreneurs and business owners live life fulfilled with content from marketing to mindset to sales to technology to how to start a business, how to grow a business. And so I have a publication and it's sponsor supported, and then working with others to do cool things like being on a podcast here with Charles. So mainly motivational keynote speaking, building publications, and in the realm of influencer marketing, working with brands to really help them enhance their credibility or help them better reach small business owners is what I do.
Right. And you exited a couple of businesses as well, but I want to learn how you were built that way. Tell me a bit more about your childhood and about your background.
Sure. Childhood was interesting. No huge drama, but I was born in the Midwest of the USA, and born to two lovely, amazing parents. My parents are full-time ministers in an evangelical church. My father died many, many years ago, but my mother's pushing about 80 or so she's chugging along as best she can, as many of our parents as they get older. And so that's a bit about. But then I moved from the Midwest to Maryland. Spent a few years there, but I spent most of my career between Brooklyn, where I married my wife of 31 years. We celebrated 31 years of marriage just a few weeks ago. And then I have two adult children. One of my children, my son, lives in Europe. And then my daughter lives in the West Coast in California, USA. So that's a bit about me. I had a stint of working at the United Nations for the bulk of my young adult career, like from about 20 or so was one of my first well-paying jobs out of high school, in fact. And I had started college, but I took a gap year and took some time off and got a job in the UN. And while I was there, I was told, hey, if you finish your degree, finish your bachelor's, you'll get a promotion, you'll get a better position. So I did some of that. And last thing I'll share with you, we can go wherever you want, but is that I was doing this in the early 90s. So there was really where I discovered the internet, the Mosaic web browser. Now we don't think of it. There's Edge and Chrome and all the fancy browsers we have today. But I remember downloading the first browser. I think I downloaded it maybe from AOL. I was using AOL, America Online, dial-up modems. Now Wi-Fi is so prevalent. Then it wasn't. So that was my journey. Early 90s, really, where the internet was being birthed. Different than today, where we have apps. And now apps are very mature, and we're all into the world of AI. So hope that was a little helpful of my journey and background.
Yeah, the ministry part is particularly interesting, right? Because you grew up listening to your parents give great speech and motivate people. What kind of impact did you see them have in others' life getting on stage?
Yeah, I think for that, people ask me that quite a bit. And my father was the one. My mother didn't preach from stage so much. She supported him and supported the church in other ways. But yes, he preached on Sundays and Saturdays and Wednesday Bible studies and things. And he was, at the time, as I understand it, I wouldn't say this if he was living, but since he's passed away, people say he was one of the best preachers of our church at the time. This would have been 26 years ago. They still remember him fondly and call him Pastor Clabe. So, it's one of those subliminal things. I had a very raucous relationship with my father. So the lens I saw him as a child was more not so good, but I'm sure that it blended on me. Some things you see, Charles, that you don't know they affected you, but they did. So now that you asked it, I'm sure they did seeing him. But the more thing I think that really impacted me was their heart for service, their heart for ministry, their heart for pouring it all out and serving other people. That was probably the biggest impact and dedication they had to their ministry.
Right. And I found myself resisting my parents as well, but indulging into what they taught me early on in life and
Mhm.
having the same musical tastes as they did. And I used to hate the music that they would listen to.
Yep.
Is there a trick to actually have younger minds like absorb what you have to say as a parent without resisting? And why did we resist? Is it just like a natural reflex that every child goes through?
I love the question, Charles. And I think that there's two things I think that are important now, being 51 years old, having two adult children, having a daughter, in fact, who's about to give birth soon. So I'll be a grandfather soon.
Oh
I think
man.
it's two things. I think one that's most important is spending time with that child. Spending time with that child is so important. Time. I think number two, making meaningful time. Some days, you have a business, Charles. I have a business. I have no apology to fly around the world or be away for this place, be away from that place. I have no apology on that. Those I have to make a living and I enjoy what I do. So that's number two, is to be intentional with both. And I think both can be in harmony or balance in some way. That's number two. Number three, I think as an adult, as a parent, to respect two things. It is my duty. It is my obligation, my responsibility to raise this child. That's my job, not the state's job, not the school's job. That responsibility falls on me to teach them please and thank you, to respect authority, to have a certain decorum, how you eat, how you walk. Don't write on the walls that are not yours, little basic human civil things like that. So it's my job to teach that and to model that. But I think number two, Charles, especially as they get older, to respect, oh, let's say you were my son, Charles. Wow, Charles is a pianist. He likes music. Maybe I'm not into music, but how can I nurture that in him and help him blossom to be the human he is intended to be? So my point is the mutual respect of I have a responsibility to raise a child, but yet as they get older, seeing that, hey, they need to do their journey and figure things out, especially as they're 16 and 18. So I hope that was helpful.
Right. And what if they want to pursue things that is not aligned with your values? What do you do then?
Sure, it's a great question. And we went through that. I think that when they're younger, you have the right to say, no, you can't do this. Whatever those, let's say, for example, your values are, you can't use green water bottles. I wanted to use something non-political, right? Non-moral, but you can't use green water bottles in my house. Or this is what you can't do. Or, let's take something safer. Smoking. We'll take that, for example. Or vaping. We'll take that. In my house,
Good one.
I don't allow it. Let's say that's something we do not allow. As a younger child, it's my obligation, my right to put the law down and say, no, you cannot. You cannot do that here. Now, as they
But
get
they'll
older,
just do it outside of the house then, right?
they may, or they may not, but meaning that's on them. But I still have to uphold what I do. But I think, Charles, what's important, as you said, have the conversation. And I think before even the rules, it's do I have a relationship with you? Have I asked about your day? Did I take you to get a hamburger? Did I just talk to you as a human? Did I take a walk with you? Did I remember your birthday party? You know what I mean? So the rules are important. And I think you cannot, for me as a parent, how I parent, I do have certain non-negotiables and I've gone through that. But I think as I see with my own children, especially my son, for example, we have a good relationship. He's my best friend. My daughter and I, different relationship. She's a bit closer to her mother and every child's different. But I can say she's at my house now. She came back here to visit with her husband and she's pregnant. And so that's an honor that clearly the relationship was good enough that she feels comfortable spending 2 weeks in her father's house. And now as an adult, I give her the freedom. I may say, hey, Charity, do you have your hat on or it's late? But that's about all I say. She's a grown woman. She's married. Do what you want to do. So.
And as a guy that's really good with words and persuasion, how do you sit down with someone and have a tough conversation when you need to have one?
I think it has to be age appropriate, but I think that assuming we're talking about a young adult or maybe a teenager, I think first of all, Charles, it's really deciding who are they, where are they at? I think before you get into Charles, don't do this, or Charles, that's wrong, or Charles, just my opinion. Charles, hey, listen, I noticed that the car had a dent in the car. You had it last. Can we talk about that a bit? Oh, okay, Dad. Yeah, I dented the car. Maybe just tell me what happened. Blah, blah, blah. Leading to hopefully, I've told you many times not to drive fast. This is what happens, Charles. You have a part-time job. It costs $3,000 to repair it. Probably not going to make you pay the full 3,000, appropriate, but you're going to have to work hard and give me $100 towards that 3,000 or whatever appropriate level that, you would
Right.
do.
So if I understand well, you didn't have the best relationship with your dad, but you took lessons out of that, and now you did it the right way, a better way with your kids,
Correct.
scientifically.
Yes, different way for sure. And he was a great father. Nothing, no abuse or anything like that. Just how he showed up was a bit
Different
stricter, maybe less human.
generation. Yeah.
Generational, exactly. Yes. So, but it was,
Yeah,
but
I
today's good.
understand that. Yeah, my dad's sort of a boomer, but I didn't get like a hard father, but his father was really harsh.
Mm,
Came from the Second World War, with
yes.
PTSD and all of that. So, yeah, that was pretty rough for him, but not that rough,
Sure.
like a good dad, but different generation. I'm curious about the spiritual side. You mentioned the ministry. Are you still into spirituality nowadays? What's your habits and routine when it comes to that?
No, thank you for asking. I will address. Let me just go back to the dad's part. I think that I'm sure you and I both would agree. Abuse and hitting your kids and cursing out your kids and all those things, non-negotiable. So Charles and I are not even talking about that. But to your point about fathers, even today, but I think that especially a lot of them are older. You grew up stricter. You grew up having to defend your family with a gun. I mean, you went through
Yeah,
some hard things, right?
different
So
times.
yeah, different times. So our parents were good, loving people, but they may not have been, oh, hey Charles, let's go have ice cream. It's Saturday, because how they dialed was different. We do that. I do that. But it's different. So thank you for asking. And I just want to explain that give grace to your parents too and understand the generation, right? I have some parents, some friends of mine, I know they're immigrants, an immigrant, not just America, immigrant, wherever you're immigrating to. It's different, right, Charles? You have the language barrier, the culture barrier. You're a new parent. You came to whatever country for new opportunity. Your mind and how you're working is different. And you got a 4-year-old child still to take care of, but you got to bring food in the house. So
Yeah, that's a struggle.
yeah. But you asked about the spiritual aspect. Yes, I'm a dedicated, committed Christian today. That's who I am, a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. And I guess it did affect me in some ways. I had a period of time where I was doubting, is there a God? If there is a God, which God? And I'm sure your audience has a whole bunch of different people, atheists, Catholics, Muslim, whatever the religion may be, or non, nothing. But for me, yes, I went through a period of is this real? And my vote, meaning my vote as I went through my journey and exploration was, I felt there is a God. I do believe, for me, the math added up, the God of the Bible. And for me, having a relationship with Christ is it's a relationship. So that's for me in my journey, since you asked. Yes.
And when you doubted God, was that a rough period in your life? What did you go through?
Yeah, I talked to my friend about this. His name is Barry Moltz. I want to give him credit. And I suffered with a dark, deep period of depression and self-harm thoughts. I can say the full word, but you never know. The algorithms hear things and block things, but self-harm, a lot of dark period to want to do those things. So yes, to your answer, I've suffered with years and I was functioning, just to be clear, on podcasts, because I've been doing this for a while, right? I can podcast speaking, but inside, going home, the darkness of my room, and I don't even know fully how to explain it. But for me, and I'm sure others on those who are listening, if you've identified with this, please do comment. I'd love to know that that you understand what I'm saying. But we're normal, good people. But at night or in the day, you just have those self-doubt thoughts, the crush of how you feel, could be your childhood, whatever happened to you. And so I had a period of that. But yes, for me, I think it's my friend said, Ramon, I take Xanax to calm me down. What do you do? So for me, it is prayer and devotions and reading my Bible and a morning time period to set. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect. Come on, I've been married 31 years. I fail as a husband, fail as a father. You do stupid things, quote unquote, saying it in a respectful way. And you have to just move on. You can't. I'm sure you know the headlines of comedians, right? Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams,
Yep.
the CNN guy with food, as an example of people we
Bourdain
know. Yeah, who Bourdain exactly,
was
who
amazing.
outwardly good people, and they were, but they had internal turmoil. So this is very human to all of us.
And I think it's biochemistry a lot of times. It's not even psychological. It's just your biochemistry is a mess. Your gut is a mess.
Yes.
You're not getting enough sunlight, for example. You're just not supplementing adequately. You're eating a food that is messing with your mind and with your gut, and you don't really understand. I think the biochemistry even causes the
Mm.
psychological thoughts about childhood and all of that, and oh shit, I'm struggling and all of that. So you have some kind of health routine, a biohacking regimen to keep yourself on track.
Yeah, but biohacking does help, and I think that I'll get into that. But I also do think there is a spiritual and soul dimension. I think that there's that balance because you're right. If you're not eating well and you're unhealthy, that opens up your body to other things. But you also can be very healthy and doing well in your body and still be attacked internally by the turmoil of your own soul and mind. But for me, yeah, it's not a perfect thing. I'm not one of those perfect biohacking guys, but I like how you open the door there. It starts in the morning for me. In the morning, I do push-ups, I do stretches, I do a morning a walk. Try to do it 5 to 6 days a week. I did it just 2 hours ago before coming on your show. Did a 30-minute what I call power walk. My knees are not perfect, so I don't jog or run, but I move my body. I do pull-ups. There was a time when I could do about 20 pull-ups. I feel
It's
I
pretty good.
Thank you. I fluctuate between 10 and 20. And then I try to eat healthy. I have a cup of Cafe Bustelo every morning with some wheat toast and then a lot of fruit. I have usually 2 tangerines, an apple, sometimes some strawberries. I have that as my daily habit. And but then the rest, I'm not like a health nut. I said that respectfully, but I don't drink a lot of soda. Maybe once or twice a week. I don't mind drinking a soda, but I'm aware of carbohydrates. I may have some rice, but if it's a lot of rice, I don't mind having minimal rice and a lot of chicken and fish and things like this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I find that sourdough bread, for example, which is still bread, but
Mhm.
it's healthier. That it digests itself better.
Mm.
You mentioned perfection, right? I think there's only one biohacker that is always like on par, or at least is advertising it as is.
Yes.
That's Brian Johnson. I don't think most biohackers are that way. I mean, Ben Greenfield, one of my mentors, definitely on that track as well. But what's your relationship with perfection? As a public
Mm.
speaker yourself, do you, and as a guy that interviewed Barack Obama, are you the type of guy to over obsess over your speeches? Or, yeah, what's the kind of equilibrium between getting shit done and perfection?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm the opposite. So I am not a perfectionist in the least. I'm the kind of person like you don't want me building the space shuttle. I'm the kind of person, okay. Charles is the engineer. He said 2 milligrams. 1 milligram, 3 milligram, 4 milligram. Let
I wouldn't want you to build my spaceship for sure.
That's me. Let's pressurize the suit to 17 psi, 15 psi, 18 psi.
Yeah,
So
that would explode.
exactly. But I do have a good team when I do things. So meaning I'm comfortable with what I do well. I am quote unquote the visionary, not some Elon Musk billionaire yet, but I'm the visionary. I think of things. I dream of things. I'm very creative. You can see my surroundings, spontaneous. I like color and loudness and having fun. That's my strength, which is why maybe I'm a keynote speaker and event host. I live life loosely in a good way. But I have people around me. Oh, yes, Ramon, this is not right. Tape this down, put this down. The color is not perfect. Let's make sure the security is enabled. All the things that they do skill in. And I think that's important because they know when I'm on stage, I may say, hey, I know we're supposed to do this at 8 a.m., but you know what, Charles, are you ready? Charles, are you ready, Charles? Charles, we're going to come on right now. Extra 15 minutes. Put your hands in the air. I just changed the script because that's my skill. I can reading the room, understanding what's happening. And I think both go hand in hand, but I'm definitely not a perfectionist. But I will say about perfection, there's good perfection. But I think for those listening, if perfection is holding you back, if perfection is keeping you from being who you should be, if perfection is stopping you from getting to the next level, that kind of having that kind of perfection will cripple you and prevent you from moving forward.
Love that. You said not a billionaire yet. So, what would be your plan to get there, and how have you done so far in this life?
Charles, you're one of the best interviewers in the world, man. so I,
Thanks.
you're well. I say yet because I think the word yet is powerful. And I don't know if I'll ever be a billionaire, right? Because a billionaire, it takes a certain focus, a certain guidance, a certain path, a certain level of risk tolerance.
Obsession.
Yeah. So billionaire, I said yet because I think it's good to give yourself the freedom to do it. But
Yep.
multimillionaire, sure. That's You do a few good things, sell a few more companies, and I'm already blessed. I'm already doing fine. But I always want to do a bit more to make more impact and help more people.
Right. And your three exits, like what were they like? Were they life changing? And how did you went through these? Were some of these panic exits, or were they
Sure.
well thought out, very profitable exits?
You asking all my business, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm getting your business right there.
I love it. So yes, smallbiztechnology.com was a panic exit. I did get money from it, got paid for it. That was during COVID, but I had to get rid of it because I needed some cash. So you're the
Oh yeah,
first person who said that to me. Panic exit.
I've seen it. I've seen
Yes.
it like thousands of times on this pod. So
I love it. So yes, I'm glad you asked. That was a panic exit, smallbiztechnology.com. And that was my second exit. Then the first one was an event business I had called Small Business Summit. And that I sold to another blogger. In fact, their conference is called I forgot the name of their conference. It was some years ago, but smallbiztechnology.com. Then I sold that. Excuse me, my event, smallbiztechnology.com was a panic sell. And then Small Business Summit, my event business, I had that with a partner. It wasn't life changing, but it was a good chunk of change. And then smarthustle.com, I sold that to Zen Business. Zen Business is based in Austin. Some people may know it. Mark Cuban's on that, their board of directors. And that one then life changing ish, but I think more so it was taken as a lesson learned. That's lesson learned because my next one, zoneofgenius.com, that'll really be where I want to take things at for zoneofgenius.com.
yeah. And what is Zone of Genius? Let's get to that one.
Sure. Yeah. Zoneofgenius.com is an online publication helping small business owners grow. Think of Business Insider. That's probably the biggest, they have millions and millions of views. We're still in startup phase, but my hope is that I thought about, should it be personal development? There's still room it could morph, but I really see right now, zoneofgenius.com, you come here to get curated insights to help you in your small business. That's what Zone of Genius is about. So part of that, just like I did with Smart Hustle, we'll build podcast and or more, an event business and or more, our online publication and or more. Those are the three tentacles that I've done for the past 20 years: events, podcasts, online content, and sponsorships. So that's what we'll
Right.
do.
So it's a media play, right?
Yes.
Do you still believe in SEO? How do you build SEO with AI nowadays?
That is a great question. And I think we're all figuring it out. So what I'm about to say, I can't say I have the definitive answer on it. I'm still learning it. But yes, I do believe in, Charles, here's why I believe in it. Just a few weeks ago, a lady said, Ramon, we're having an event, the Independent Billboard Operator event. I know what billboards are, but who ever heard of independent billboard operators? I'm like, what's that? But there's an association for everything. And so I asked her, how did you find me? She said, I found you through ChatGPT. So I don't know exactly what prompt she put in, but she put in the right prompts to have AI know enough about me to then, like this thing of zero click. Zero click is a serious thing. It's a real thing. It affects publications, but I still believe in it because the second click, meaning, the first click after the zero click, it matters. So she found me. So I think that, yes, I still encourage people. My other brand, of course, is Celebrity CEO. And I encourage people really to still produce content, still do podcasts, still get on podcasts, still build relationships, still put out your thought leadership, still invest in PR because content is still important.
Right. You see when you do a web search on ChatGPT and they send you a couple of links out of that. I think one of them is usually like LinkedIn,
Mhm,
and then there's also like YouTube, which is pretty high authority. I
mhm.
think that's factored better than websites nowadays via ChatGPT search. I would love to research that a bit more, but I think ChatGPT gives more authority to these common channels. For example, we're streaming right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and X. I think ChatGPT scrapes these social medias more than Google would nowadays. I think that's been a big change.
I love it. And by the way, Charles, can you tell my audience, because we're also streaming across multiple platforms, just a little bit? I know it's your show, so I'm going to take over for 10 seconds. Can you tell my audience who you are, what you do? Shout out yourself so my audience also knows you and can touch base with you, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, I do cold email. Probably top 5 or 10 in the world when it comes to serving SaaS and AI companies. So I use AI to fetch contacts, to create campaigns and copy, and ultimately to reply to prospects that say yes to an offer via cold email. And yeah, I'm pretty damn good at it. I work with some of the best founders in the world, so YC companies, speedrun companies, Techstars, Antler, Series A seed. So, and that's do you do some cold email on your side, Ramon?
From time to time, not automated, probably as well as you're doing it. And I think I hired a coach recently, and what she told me was, Ramon, one thing you've done very well over the years is marketing for many, many years. I blah, 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 blah. I've been on shows and on TV and all this. But she said, Ramon, what you're missing is sales. So I say that because I would love to learn from you even right now if you have any tips. But she said, you haven't done sales. And it never hit me that, yeah, I've been very good at marketing, branding myself, but I'd never gone out and directly sold. I'd never gone out and said, this is this. And so I've started to DM, reach out, and hey, it's been some, not like in serial or in mass like you or your agency do it, but just like, oh, okay, they're having an event. It seems like an event right within my target market. Let me just DM them and say hello. So at that level. So it sounds weird, but for me, it's new because pre-COVID, I fed my family and had a decent sized business inbound. But now post-COVID, things have changed a bit. I don't know if you're seeing the same, but I know it's been 5 years, but still it's a different economy. And so you work a little different post-COVID, I found at least.
Things are so different, and things are never about to be the same with AI. It's only accelerating in one direction. Yeah, since COVID, like everyone has been online, right? And that AI sort of kicked in 2022 when ChatGPT came around. So now you're getting a lot of AI written emails on the cold email side. What changes deliverability as well? Google and Outlook are blocking everything. So if you send an email to a stranger, you'll get in the spam. LinkedIn is good and 1v1 outreach is good, but cold email is infinitely more scalable. Plus, we can create triggers, right, to create campaigns on demand. Like you wouldn't need to go and fetch it yourself. We could agentify it. So that I've seen also. About 3 years ago, I had 200 employees in this agency of mine. I've managed over 1,000 the last 10 years, and I let them all go and I replaced them with AI, which was a very interesting move, and it has
Wow.
paid off dramatically. Yeah.
I'm sure that
I
affects
mean,
profitability and more. How, do you from that
crazy.
200 or 1,000 went to like 10, 5, 1? I mean, I'm sure you need maybe some
Zero.
supporter.
Zero. No, because
Wow.
everything's agentified nowadays. Everything's automated, and I work with AIs nowadays to replace this full team. So AI copywriters, AI researchers, auto add contacts to campaigns. I'm building a SaaS also that I'll sell this agent to. It's called clutchgpt.com, right? And I've seen basically, yeah, probably 4 weeks ago, I've started seeing companies do that as well. Because I did it 3 years ago, but I was always before my time. I was a digital nomad before it was cool. I was a drop shipper before it was cool. And yeah, I expected the market to catch up like maybe 2024, but literally like 3 weeks ago, I started hearing, and I'm very well connected. I talk to probably like 15 CEOs a day. And I started hearing about CEOs that are like, yeah, I'm hiring AIs nowadays instead of human. So that's a massive change that I've seen as of late, and it's pretty scary. Have you seen that
Wow.
as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, I hear the headlines on it, and for sure, even in my own business, Zone of Genius, and I was doing some talks on Reddit. Is AI content bad? Is AI content crap? Is AI content garbage? And all this AI, of course, bots and agents are different. But somebody said, Ramon, no, if your audience is replying back and saying thank you, if their email coming back and saying this was good, that means it's good. And so I'd like your opinion on this, because what they said was is that the crappy content is when it's crappy content, when it's just a farm and it's, look at her now 3 years ago, or 3 ways to
Oh, that's
eat a
bullshit.
bagel. Right. But they said if it's some thought with it, and you're saying, you know what I'm trying to say, but it's just all content generated by AI is not bad. That's the point that they're.
Yeah, if you prompt it well, it's going to be good. If you outsource your full Ramon brain to an AI and it speaks exactly like you, there's no reason why it wouldn't be good. Now it won't improve as fast because ChatGPT improves itself every now and then, but you can modify the prompt as well. So yeah, I do think that crap content nowadays for most people, it would be the norm. But I think for a guy like you, like yeah, if you write a piece and you have it compared to an AI, I think Ramon would win, but it would take you like an hour, and the AI would do it like almost instantly. I think that Claude as well for writing stuff is the best. Like Claude's Opus, they have 4.0. They deployed that like 1 week ago,
Hmm.
and it's better than 99.5% of people out there. Just very high performers will never really be replaced by AIs because they're always like growing and evolving. But yeah, we definitely use it for your media company. There's ways to do it at scale as well, like in a spreadsheet, so that you can tell it to, yeah, you can feed it like ideas. What I did with one of my companies, for example, is for ceowisdompodcast.com. I fed it a bunch of CEOs name, let's say like the top 1,000 CEOs in the US,
Hmm.
and then I asked the AI like to make some guests about the CEO's habits and their day to day. Right, like at 5 a.m. they wake up, at 7 they go out for a run, and it came up with 1,000 articles of the day to day of like these top CEOs. So one article per CEO, right? And I think that's pretty smart because these CEOs could visit the page, their PR agency could visit, and then they could book a podcast with me. So I think
I
that's a
love
pretty
it.
smart media play.
You want to come and work for me? I can invite you on my team. I can give you a tuna fish sandwich and pay you, I don't know, 10,000 a year.
Oh boy. Yeah, it'll take 5 to 10K like per month. And but yeah, I'm glad to give you tips and all of that. Also, that's not really my specialty. It's more like
Sure.
cold email, right? Like
Yes.
cold email, you can picture an email that is incredibly personalized to your company with a great offer. And coming back to your point about you not selling, right? Like my philosophy with selling, first, I'm pretty much of an introvert, like I think a lot, I'm good by myself. I don't need others to be happy, generally speaking. So like doing this podcasting is not my favorite thing, nor is selling stuff. But what I love is humans and
Yes.
talking to them. And the podcast is level 1, but working with someone is level 10 because they pay you and then you need to deliver something.
That's right.
And my goal in life is like to scale up that trust and have trusted partners, because ultimately some of my clients, they become business partners. I invest in them, I get equity into them, my best clients. So I think that selling should be natural, and
Mm.
it's pretty easy. It's like, hey, I have this to offer, is it valuable or not, like no biggie about it. And then you send an AI personalized line, so it's pretty good. So that's my philosophy on selling. I want to work with people. It is my duty to work with these people because some of my best friends nowadays, we started in business together. I pitched them, they bought my service, we became business partners, we became friends, and that's a good life. So that's my philosophy on sales. What do you think about that?
No, I love it, and I love it, and again, it's not funny, but that's the best English word I can think of. Ironic, it's funny. I speak about this. I know this. I'm an entrepreneur, doing this for years, as you know all this, but we don't know everything, nor do we implement everything. Sometimes it takes somebody like Ramon. You need to be doing this. You're like, that's right. So I don't feel ashamed about it. I do it. It's a lesson learned for people listening to us and my own audience that, hey, Ramon Ray was really not doing sales all these years. He was doing marketing. We talk about the difference, but I'm like, oh, this really is sales. So that's the beautiful thing I found about when doing that. It's definitely a difference to how it's done. And I think sales is important. And I think sales is something that can be learned. Everybody can do it just a little bit better, those who are doing it well or those who are starting out.
Yeah, for getting speaking gigs, that could be good for you. Although it's been challenging, right? I've tried it before with a bunch of clients. So it needs to be trigger based. It's like, oh, the AI scrapes that there's an event happening in NYC. It gets the contact email of the right person, then it sends an email, which is quite complex to build. But for your podcast as well, I mean, you've got like top people that have been on your pod and that you've interviewed over the years. How did you first reach out to them? Was it LinkedIn? Wasn't it cold email?
Yeah, cold email, but if I don't have the email, then LinkedIn. And since I've been doing some version of content for literally maybe 20 years, for a long time. So in my small niche of large brands reaching small businesses, I'm known. That's who Ramon has been. Of course, I'm morphing and figuring out who I am. But the companies like PayPal, Zoho, Dell, Microsoft, Verizon, AT&T, all those companies I've worked with, or they've been my clients for years. So that's historically who I've interviewed. And now I'm just figuring out the next step that Ramon wants to do. But yes, but cold email, and/or I must say the hack is that since I've always had publications, right? Smallbiztechnology.com, smarthustle.com, zoneofgenius.com. These have all been small niche publications, but still nobody's covering, the AI slide company, well, AI today, or nobody's covering back in the day, Microsoft's new small business software. New York Times is not covering that. Wall Street Journal, they're covering the founder. What I'm trying to get at is that, but with Ramon Ray, with his, even if it's niche publication, says, oh, you have a small business software, I'm a big deal to even a company like Microsoft.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how I've done it over the years.
Yeah, and I like that model. I very much like it. On the podcast side of things, I run Top Leads, but another of my companies called Podfire. So we use cold email to get a bunch of people on a podcast. And yeah, the sponsorship media model is cool. Like ultimately with that podcast, I'm getting paid by sponsors sometime and by YouTube AdSense, for example. But the main model behind Podfire is lead gen, So I target my ICP. Not necessarily what you today were like a different part of that, but normally I target, I don't know, YC founders, Antler founders, CEOs with, CEOs with Series A. And what I do after this pod, and you'll probably receive some of these follow-ups yourself, I pitch them about my service, podcast, cold email, but also free offer, right? Like I have a meditation group and then stuff like that. And I think that's very good strategy to grow your client base. And the why behind that is that getting in the mailbox is really hard nowadays. If you pitch them directly with a sales offer, you might get stuck in the spam. But if you pitch them on a podcast basis, like who will say no to a podcast, right? So it's like a door opener. Lower closing rate, higher sales cycle, but you get like 10 per day, right? Which means that technically can get one client per day. What do you think about that model?
That is powerful. That's the sales model that I'm stepping into or need to do. Again, in the past, it's been marketing. It's been not an intention because my model was different. People would just come to me, Ramon, can you speak or can we work with you on an influencer campaign? But that is precisely, and again, it's not in a slimy way. It's that you have a need. I have a service. Let's connect and make something happen. So it is 100% powerful. It's a door opener. I think the only other thing is, depending on how you do it, sometimes that they, let's say I'm interviewing you, Charles, but I came to you through your gatekeeper, your PR person who said yes. Now the PR person has a different budget, different money, different focus than me needing to paint Charles' house. If you get what I mean. I can't, hey, Becky, thank you for getting Charles on my interview. Could I follow up with you and paint Charles' house? Well, I don't care about Charles' house now. So that's the only, but you may have a solution for that. That's kind of the.
I do. Okay. So, it's AI replies. So I do often get these PR people, not my favorite, right? Or gatekeepers. Like sometimes I talk to an assistant and they're like, hey, here's 1, 2, 3 times, but why don't you just use my link? I sent you a link, book it on my link. And oftentimes that's a sign of disqualification for my podcast. Like if you're still using a VA from the 90s and you're not using AI or like a calendar booking app, then you're probably not a fit. My pod is free, right? Is yours free as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a publication. It's not journalism per se, but it's a full great content.
Because you mentioned budget, right? You mentioned PR budget. So to convince PR people, all you need to do is feed a screenshot to the AI. I have an AI that's prompted, which I use with you, by the way, to send like custom questions, which is probably why you accepted on this podcast. I call it Reply GPT. And yeah, the PR people, they just have different objectives than like the CEO themselves, right? So they want to make sure that the reputation will stay intact. They want to know how many views precisely. For the views, it's quite easy. If today I had like Steven Kotler reply to one of my campaigns, I had probably like 3 Steven level people replying me daily. And he was like, yeah, I need your podcast to have 50K views. I'm like, okay, I'll just sponsor it, right? And what that means is that I'll probably have to drop like $100 to sponsor podcast to have Steven on, which is a no-brainer. So yeah, the AI is knowledgeable about that and will reply specifically to that PR person that, hey, like, yeah, that's what we'll do to get that person on. So yeah, usually it's a pretty high conversion rate. And let me just show it to you real quick
Please.
on my screen. It's pretty simple. So do you see here,
Mhm.
custom pod invite GPT? So that was Nick Gray. Nick Gray also replied today. I had Nick Gray on my pod before. Nick Gray's like a, just Google him. He's pretty interesting. He started a museum tour company in NYC, and then the AI came up with this, right? So like 5 custom questions. And yeah, like I sent him that, and it's pretty clean. I'm pretty sure he's gonna book it here. Do you use any GPTs at this stage in your business,
Oh
or
yeah, many
still?
GPTs for sure. I mean, I have editorial process, proposals, thinking, a thought process. Where should I go next? Absolutely, things of that nature. So yes, yes,
Right. And let's talk about people you interviewed in
sure.
the last couple of years. You interviewed Barack, which was a hell of a president, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It's just like Justin Trudeau in Canada. Like some people might hate on him, but he just represented the country right. You know, he was
Mm,
a serious person that was dedicated to their craft. It was just good for the country
mm,
on an international level, as an international guy that I am.
sure.
Um, and you also interviewed all the 5 sharks and a bunch of prominent people. Who were your best interviews? And what did you learn from these very high performers?
Wow, what a great question. I think that over the years I've uh, come to know, and who's a friend of mine, as it were, is Seth Godin. So I think that's probably my favorite interview. Just Seth is so in depth, so intuitive, never answers the question directly, not in a bad way, but like you may say, how do we drive more safe? Just slow down. Seth will be like, you drive more safe by having mothers think of their children. Just it's like it probably reminds me of you. Very, very perceptive, and a different angle that he comes at
Alien.
everything he talks about. So Seth Godin, and I could, Barbara Corcoran, she was a bunch of fun. Barbara Corcoran is a jokester and talked about this, that, or the other. So I've had interviewed a few people who are always insightful. But I think what's interesting is that the best ones, and the names escape me right now, but is who interviewed me. Like this interview here, Charles, a lot of people can get very tactical, practical. Ramon tells us about celebrity CEO, tells us about this, and those are good. The evergreen content things I talk about, but rarely have I talked about spirituality. Rarely have I talked about to go in depth about my father. So I know it's a broad interview. We're talking about marketing and sales now, but I think those are the ones also that I like is that, yes, we can talk about, hey, Ramon's an expert in X, but I don't mind talking about, why you should eat avocados or whatever. We can go different. I'm not the one who I have something to push always, like my book. We're humans. Once you do this enough and you provide enough seeds and add enough value, both of our brands will keep growing, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And I like deconstructing people because, yeah, ultimately it's me that I have in mind, but also like a young kid that's starting a business and
Mm,
he just wants to know how. And if you've went to this education system, like you've seen yourself that everything's hidden. No one tells you how it is, like you tend to think of Elon as the god, but in the end you can get in Elon's mind and find out pretty much how it works and how he got there, like Elon's very alien, by the way, but maybe like a better example is like, or better alien is Mark Cuban.
sure.
I think you did interview him.
Mhm.
um what's that guy's name, the Fubu guy?
Oh,
Damon?
Damon John.
Matt Damon.
Other guy, Damon
Matt
John.
Damon Johnson.
Yes, Damon John's interesting too. I mean, I'm sure all the sharks post a lot of content, and I think the algorithms feed you what you click on. But I'm amazed at how much content Damon John is starting to put out. Maybe he's putting out the same as the other sharks, but man, he's putting out a lot of content for sure. Doing a
I
lot of
love his books. His
yeah,
books were really good.
yeah.
What's your take on books? Because nowadays I don't even read books. I just
Either.
like ChatGPT deep research everything, and it gives me a very in-depth research essay on a specific topic. And the ROI of me reading this is just insane compared to a book that could be summed up in one sentence. So, what's your take on books? Are they like just fancy marketing cards?
Yes, that's number one. Yes, but I do think
Most of
one.
them.
Yes, most of them. But I do think one thing about a book, and I'm going to pull a few out here that's important. So, is that some books, so yes, they're fancy marketing cards, but I do think some books force you to slow down and read and internalize. So I want to shout out my friend Mike Michalowicz. I'm sure you've read the book. Maybe you've had him on your show, Profit First, right? This is a book read by millions and millions of people that have just
Kind of book
changed.
you need to reread again because it's a bit, yeah, I need to revisit that one.
Correct. The buckets and how to structure your business. And that's a very thing that millions have arguably said has changed their life. I know it's changed my life. I'm going to pull another book here, though. Let's say Marie Forleo. You probably know the name or interviewed her, maybe. You know, everything is figure outable. Good book, nice book, but there's nothing in here, Maria.
Tony
Marie,
Robbins style, sort of.
yeah, there's, it's, I read it and remind you to figure things out. The story of her mom is nice. So, as an example, few books in life are those books, or you have this, I must say another one, Jim Collins, Turning the Flywheel. This is more of a, mimeograph, whatever they call it. It's very shorter, but I must say it helped me. And you know these things. You're a growth marketer and you've built on businesses. But for me still, as on my journey, Flywheel, it helped me think a little bit, okay, what is my flywheel and how do I grow? Because we're all expert, as it were, or we all are strength in different ways. Clearly, how your mind works, your expertise, you have a lot more things in there than I have. I need to learn a lot, but I'm also happy with some things I've done. So, those are two examples. Three.
Right. Green lights, I think, has really marked me. Yeah, like because I read pretty much all of these business books and these self-help books. I think I used to read like one book a day at some point in my life. I'm really much a obsessive type, right? And yeah, let's see what I have on my Audible now. But yeah, Green Lights was super incredible. Yeah, right now I have Roger Federer, the Master, it's called.
Okay. Yep.
What else do we have? Five Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom, because I'm about to have him on the pod.
Okay.
House of Huawei. So what happened with Huawei, which is just fascinating. Yeah, I sort of Crypto Confidential was a bit good by Nate Eliason.
I have one for you that you should buy right now. Maybe you have it. What's the one? Let me go to Amazon. What's the one with the lady from Amazon, former Amazon? Sorry, not Amazon. Facebook, former Facebook executive.
Oh, Sheryl.
But not her. Who did it? The other lady who did a tell-all book, who did a tell-all about Facebook, about the internal stuff.
Whistleblower.
Yes.
Dang, you like that one? I usually don't like whistleblowers.
Well, I wouldn't want anybody to whistleblower me, but meaning
Francis Hogan.
Hold on, let me. If I gotta find it, it's. Let me see.
Because for example, I had one of my mentors is Tom Lenoble. He's also a client of mine. He worked at Facebook with Zuck like in very early days.
Right.
And I had him on the pod a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, he's just not for it, right? Because Zuck is still like one of the best entrepreneurs of our time.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, like, what did you like about that book? Just how revealing it was?
No, so okay, it's called Careless People. Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. Careless People. So here's what I liked. Not the gossipy, here's what Mark Zuckerberg, because she was working with him, and Sheryl Sandberg, not that part. But I love logistics. So just hearing her, assuming it's a true story of how she would say things like, okay, I landed in Indonesia at the airport. I forgot my shoes on the plane, and I had to walk 3 miles to get a taxi with a stranger I didn't know. She fills it with stories like that, which I just like. Mark Zuckerberg was coming to the hotel in 2 hours. He didn't have a seat reserved at the presidential luncheon. What to do? So that's why I like the book, things like that.
Interesting. Challenges and humiliation. Yeah, it looks a bit woke, but what I like about these books, and even, for example, $1 Billion Loser, which is like ultimately like a hit piece. I like that less, but it's the only books that give us an insight into these companies.
Correct.
Right? So I learned a great deal about WeWork, and I still support Adam Newman and all this craziness. Another one is Super Pumped. But yeah, like Mike Isaac, it's Travis Kalanick, which is also one of the best entrepreneurs of our time. So unfortunately, to get like an inside views inside these companies nowadays, you need to read these hit pieces.
Yes.
But yeah, let's see if I
And we'll
order
trade
that
two
one.
more. We'll trade two more. Even you probably read this already, but Ben Newman's Traffic, about the founding of Business Insider, Huffington Post. It's a legacy. Now it's legacy,
Wow.
but pretty good,
Okay.
interesting book about, the Gawker media, things like that. So that's one. And then the other one is that's another one. And it's, again, old history, but I like reading, I don't mind reading really ancient history, but how BlackBerry, to me, again, just
That's a good
right,
one.
the thought process of we flew to this airport, we had this meeting. Of course, we know how the story ends, but I like that chitty chatter. We went to this hotel and waited, and this president came through the back door, and there was no water for him. I like those little pieces,
Yeah, the details. The gold is in the details for sure. Traffic, I'm gonna add it. Did you ever read like the Ryan Holiday story
I did.
about Gawker?
Yes.
That one's pretty insane with Peter Thiel.
Yes.
Man,
correct.
Peter Thiel's such a Machiavellian, great entrepreneur and all. And what's the last one that you named?
Well, there's Traffic that I put ready.
The other one.
About the rim, about recent, BlackBerry.
BlackBerry, correct.
BlackBerry book. The name, I'm sure you'll see it to find it somewhere, but just kind of how the rise and fall of BlackBerry. It talks about the contracts with telecommunication companies and things like that. They built billion-dollar businesses. So how can I apply it to my own business? And just to know, that's how an iPhone gets into an Apple store. Nice to know.
Yeah. Did you read or watch the BlackBerry movie on Apple movie?
I did
because
not.
I think they did a movie on that one, and it was pretty good. Pretty draconian BlackBerry, and especially their CEO, which was hockey obsessed. Good old Canadian from was it Mississauga or Windsor or Toronto? But yeah, it was pretty insane. This company, the growth, and just to come back to your comment about being like a billionaire, like you need intensity, you need all of that, but also you need to be at the right place at the right time, right? There's a very strong component of luck.
Yes.
And BlackBerry, I very much think hit that. They hit all the perfect formula, which is incredibly hard to do, but they also hit at the right place at the right time in the continuum of space time. So it's interesting how these companies can rise so fast and be wrecked by Steve Jobs right after, because Steve is like no luck. Steve is just like he's modifying the laws of physics around him.
Yes.
Last but not least, who are some of your favorite founders, right?
Sure.
Like Elon, Steve, or any Mavericks that you're constantly following and sort of copy pasting what they're doing?
Sure. And can I tell you one more story about luck, though? Totally different than media. Okay.
Go ahead.
Muhammad Ali, right? The boxer, Muhammad Ali. The famous photo of him with, I forgot the guy who was on the floor.
Dempsey? No, not Dempsey. Was it Foreman?
No, this is old, 1965. I just talked about it today, but here's the point: is that they had a New York Times had an article about the photographer who took the photo.
Yeah.
In 1965.
It's Sony Liston.
Thank you, Sony Liston, exactly. And the photographer said it took 3 minutes back then for our bulbs overhead to charge. We couldn't take photos.
Holy shit.
3 seconds. 3 seconds. Excuse me. 3 seconds.
Okay.
3 seconds. Big difference. 3 seconds. 3 seconds for our bulbs to charge.
Still,
so not, today you can go, like that. And the bottom line, he was saying there was one photographer on the one side of the ring, one photographer on the other side of the ring. So the point is about luck is that one photographer only had the back shot where Sony Liston's on the ground of Muhammad Ali, the iconic photo though of Muhammad Ali like this and looking down there. And then he said it was luck. He said, yes, exactly. That one right there. And he said, if Muhammad Ali would have been too early or too late and moved, I would never have gotten that iconic shot, which New York Times is one of the most popular photos in the world. So it was just interesting when you talked about luck. I liked how the photographer gave credit to luck. He said, yes, I was there, but so much luck happened that day. I could have been on that side. Somebody else could have been on this side. I could have snapped the photo and not had the 3 seconds for the flash to go on. So I'll tell you my entrepreneurs in a minute, but any comments on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying any comments on that? Please go ahead.
Oh, any comments on that? Ali's a total beast. Like it's not even about the photographer. It's like Ali, someone that does it like predictably time after time, you know.
Yes.
um
Yes.
his cockiness, I think, is part of it. I think you need to have that extra confidence, right? Like I'm an MMA guy myself, and
Okay.
watching Connor in his prime, Connor like always like big bestial walk, you know, like in the ring, and
Yes.
always like super confident, fighting with his hands down. And if
Mm,
you look at most champion, they have that sort of invincibility
mm,
feeling,
mhm.
which doesn't mean not to take lessons when you get knocked down and
Correct.
to be humble. I think that opposing characteristics can exist in that can coexist in the same human being.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm humble, but I'm also cocky. I'm
Yes.
open-minded, but I'm also extremely stubborn. You know, so I think it's all like situational.
Yes. No, I love it. I can feel it. I mean, I love being with you. I love this show. I can't wait to get to know you better because you're right. A confident, no problem being confident or cocky, whichever the good one is. But you don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to put anybody down. You can just
Yeah.
be. And me as a speaker as well. People ask me, Ramon, do you ever get nervous and all these things? I understand what they mean. We're all human, but not really nervous. I've been doing it for over 20 years. This is my gift, what God's given me, and I love hosting events or speaking. But you asked about entrepreneurs and others. I mentioned Seth Godin, who's a more quiet entrepreneur. People don't know he started so many projects, which is, I guess, what I like about him. He sold a multi-million-dollar company at least once, I know, but he's done a smattering of projects. But one person who I talked about today, who's none of the tech companies, none of the tech CEOs, but who I admire a lot is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, the
He's
creator
a
of
beast.
Medea and the Black American media market. Doesn't have to only be Black American, but that's his niche. And just how he started it, writing all his plays and poems in a car, being homeless, being abused, all those kind of things. He's in Atlanta, and now the guy, he's not trying to be an actor. He's not trying to get on shows. He hires actors. He
Building an
owns
empire.
studios. He's a
Yeah, I love this
mogul.
guy too. He's crazy good. He's
Yeah,
building his own studio, literally. Who will do that?
exactly.
Ramon, need to run. Probably you on your side too. Where can people find out more about you?
Best place is zoneofgenius.com. Zoneofgenius.com will open the world to Ramon Ray. Thank you for asking.
All right. So that was Ramon and Charles.